advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch.
Hello, my name is Harrison Wadko and welcome to our program. As we begin, I prepared something which I usually don't actually. But alang-alang sa guest natin na VIP, a good friend of mine who's been coming in and out, who's done many shows here, who also hosted it. With his personal advocacy, his campaign in life to improve the Filipino people, I went out of my way because the topic we're about to discuss is very much in vogue, so to speak. Allow me to go through my notes. According to Neil Ferguson, he's one of the more affluent or one of more articulate writers in Newsweek. He says that America must stand firmly. Let me put this to you. And these stands are firm and non-negotiable demands of America, basically human dignity, correct. Rule of law, okay. Absolute power of the state, free speech, freedom of worship, equal justice, respect for women, religious and ethnic tolerance, respect for private property. So very quickly, I'll go through the 9 points. Human dignity, simply, well, is that applicable here in the Philippines? Let's see, we have the urban poor, we have the fisher folk. So here alone, I'm not sure that there's human dignity when you have poverty. So 1 down. Count the numbers, that's 9 points, so 1 down. The rule of law, I'd rather comment that on the last. The absolute power of the state, my points are, this is prevalent. Regardless of the people power we together celebrated, we lost the ideals and created illusions of our freedoms. We fear government and loathe its directives. Now, I'm not saying that because that's just my point of view. I'd like you to check out the editorials in radio commentators every day. You tell me. I go on further and say we suffer the consequence of poor management subjected to the KKK. Now, I guess I'm doing double speak there. The other point, number 4, is free speech. Definitely without a doubt. This is the light at the end of the tunnel. We have free speech. The problem, however, is the content of this freedom. The content meaning it is obviously eroding the morals and values left unchecked to date. All you need to do is turn on the television, and the game shows are well on their way. Freedom of worship, I will not contest that. Equal justice, equal justice for whom? The rich vis-a-vis the poor? Let's see. In America alone, you have Dominic Strauss-Kahn, who, let's see, his charges were dropped mysteriously. Isn't that interesting? The work of legals. We'll discuss that as we go along. Respect for women. Definitely, the Filipinos within the realm of its culture. However, we have a growing, widespread problem with prostitution and human slavery. So that's another point down. Let's see. Number 8, religious and ethnic tolerance, which is conceivably present in the tribes. Yes, no problem there. Respect for private property. Let's see. I believe that has to be a joke. That's simply because you have the persistence of squatters or what we call informal settlers. Let's see. Is it not the poor and the rich? No, is it not the powerful and the rich and well-connected that keep their vast lands in spite of the obvious decay in inequality? Let's see. We have land reform, but not everyone's subjected to it. Only the least connected. Of course, the powerful, they will keep 6,000 hectares and more. Now, which leads us to our issue in our show today, the rule of law. Out of the 9 points, I voted 5 down and 4 up, meaning we won't pass any of the firm, non-negotiable demands of what America stands for. So instead of calling it democracy, let's see, what did I call it? In the last point, I called it a democracy. What we have is a democracy and a subjugated people by its same race, the same culture, same heritage, and wears the same citizenship. In our topic today, our guest, we're going to be talking about the functions and dysfunctions of the legal system. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, the man who's put his life out for the Filipino people, Dante Jimenez. Hi, Dante. Okay ba introduction ko sa'yo?
Yes.
Matagal ka na, hindi ka na namin nakikita. Noon, every week, every Tuesday ka dito eh. May show ka sa GNN.
Oo nga, pero medyo dumaming trabaho natin.
Okay lang yan. Anyway, hindi pa naman nawawala ang BACC. It's well on its way. I read you always, I read about you in the press, and I see you on TV with all the different pronouncements and all the things you stand for. In fact, you got into trouble with the courts not too far back. But let's not go there. Functions and dysfunctions of the legal system. Quick opening. Ano feeling mo? How would you immediately reply to that?
Well, you know, our criminal justice system, I would put it this way, not only the judiciary. Let's put it this way, the criminal justice system, which includes the police, the law enforcement, the prosecution,
DOJ,
okay, the courts,
the judiciary,
under the Supreme Court, judiciary, and then of course the penology. These are the jail system. And of course, the fifth pillar of the criminal justice system is the community, which includes of course media.
Okay.
Now, I would say that is it functional? All of these 5 pillars, is this yes functional? Yes, they have their respective functions. But the problem
clarified.
The problem is it is dysfunctional as far as effectiveness is concerned. Bakit dysfunctional? Kasi they don't work together eh. Kanya-kanya sila. Walang nagmamonitor, walang nagkukumpas or nagkakandak ng or sabihin natin isa ang magbibigay ng direksyon for all these pillars na sinasabi ng ating mga mahuhusay ng mga mambabatas at implementers of our criminal justice system. So, it is dysfunctional.
So first, we come to a specific agreement. We have the functions of the legal system.
Yeah.
It's there.
Okay.
May legals, mga abogado. And then we have the systems as you put out by the Department of Justice. And before that, of course, enforcement. May police naman, may nanguhuli.
Yes.
May NBI, di ba? And then you've got where you lodge your complaints. That's available. That's punta ka ng mga municipal trial court, prosecutor, di ba? Pag criminal, di ba? And may sistema naman of how to file cases and everything. Ang problema, ano nangyayari pag file mo? 1, nako, 6 na buwan,
Katakot-takot.
1 taon, di ba?
Well, in all these pillars, no, as I said, nagpa-function naman sila. Pero isa-isahin natin whether they are providing the quality service or effective service to our people.
But the service can be identified in many different ways. I've worked with legals recently, most recently, because I've had to file cases, criminal cases, mind you. One in our office in Silver Brands, but and I have some land cases I'm trying to fight out with Land Bank as well. But interestingly enough, being exposed to them, the one thing I cannot seem to tolerate is the time discrepancy of how long it takes for things to develop.
Right.
Parang ang tagal nila mag-isip. But then they tell me that there is a system that they have to follow. And talagang ganun ang tagal because there's a backlog on cases. Di ba? And anong nangyayari? Justice delayed, justice denied.
That's right.
Now, and then in the end, when they come to resolutions or what you call decisions, you have so many appeals eh. So let's go fast track natin the role in the Supreme Court na. You know, Dante, I was telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I was telling Mr. Jimenez right when we started the show, I had the opportunity of having this meeting with the chairman, no less, or the chairperson, no less, of the European Chamber of Commerce, Henry Schumacher. And he asked me, how do you improve a country? Because he wants to be participatory, or the Europeans want to help our president, and rightfully so, they should. because they're here. And they quoted to me e-governance, some infrastructure, of course, security, police and security conditions. And then they asked me, Harry, what do you think? And I said, judiciary. That's it. So they were all surprised, and I started thinking, tell me why. I said, quite simply, if you were to sit in front of Chief Justice Corona, ask him one of two questions in sequence. One, what is the current inventory of cases in the Supreme Court? Kasi ito na yung tuk-tuk, bababa eh. As you go down, parami ng parami mga kaso. And if he answers that question, question number two would be, what would be the gestation of these cases? Do you agree with me there?
I agree with you totally.
Wala nangyari.
Talagang ganon. Kasi ang daming ang mga delaying tactics. Okay, let's go to the bottom of this. Yung majority of our people, yung mga mahihirap natin mga kababayan, bakit ang dami pong mga cases na hindi po na umuusad sa mga iba't ibang korte? Why? Because ang daming mga ang daming mga delaying tactics. They say there will be a prescription period that
meron nga eh. May isa pa yan eh. Yeah.
May filing, X date, X number of days. Meron dapat may resolution na.
Yung resolution, isang taon yan.
Oh my God. And then, dapat matapos na yung mga kaso. But, meron pa nga silang ini-introduce ang Supreme Court natin, yung roller...
on wheels. Justice on wheels.
Justice on wheels.
SCJ Puno yan eh.
Ito yung mga gimmick lang to eh. Pero they follow the same kind of system. Ang akin dito, what I would like to say here is, if there is a problem with the system, di ba, we have to change the system. We have to entertain ideas coming from our neighboring countries, like your friend from Europe. They should consider those things. But why is it that they don't consider it? Because of they protect interests. Ando dun yung greed. Because it might affect their interest. It might affect their economic interest.
So you're saying that the judiciary is corrupt?
Well, you said that.
No. Pero ako naman, without saying that...
We have already proven that in some cases where a judge had been corrupted. We have already proven that in the prosecution pillar, and also most of the time in the law enforcement pillar. But again, why is it that hindi pa natitigil itong corruption na ito?
Talking about enforcement, alam mo, pag ang police o isang enforcement agency take somebody, an offender, perceived offender, and then they take them in, they enforce the law, hulihin, at ibibigay ngayon sa judiciary, sa sistema, subjected to what you call his day in court. Ano nangyayari? When you subject them there, there is what you call a certain delay. Now, what does delay, how does it, ako sa akin, ang base ko sa delay, it's parang an invitation, kausapin mo ako, may oras nga yan, kausapin mo na ako. Di ba, dapat yan, wala, tuloy-tuloy, marathon hearings, finish it, done, let's go to the next case. Make decisions. Why these judges in the judiciary take so long is beyond me. Do you think that's part of the collusion to what we call perceived corruption?
Yes.
Di ba? Parang, ano? Parang.
Yeah. Hindi lang parang, totoo yun. Because, let's put it this way. If a law enforcer in the investigation of a particular heinous crime case, because we're used to heinous crime case, okay, was not corrupted, and then it goes through the prosecution, that fiscal, or that prosecutor now called a prosecutor, before it was called fiscal, was not corrupted. Okay? First, let's just presume. Then it goes, it goes to the court. Finally, the day come for the judgment.
Pinakawala.
And then the judge acquitted the primary suspect because he was corrupted. Let's say, what will be the impact to
technicality.
What will be the impact, Harry, to the law enforcers?
Oh, syempre tatago na.
Well, sasabihin ng law enforcer, kinurap din pala eh. Bakit hindi na tayo nakinabag doon sa ano? Lalo na in illegal drugs. In illegal drug cases, mostly, ganyan na nangyayari.
We have the
And then the prosecutors, wait, let me, ano sasabihin ng prosecutor na hindi na corrupt? Sasabihin yan, oh my God, I should have taken the money myself.
binigay pa, no, yung oportunidad.
So that the morale really is very, very low.
On enforcement.
Kanya-kanyang style, kanya-kanyang isipan na para paano mo ka maisahan ng ang bawat pillar.
So kawawa ang enforcement. Because babalikan ka rin ng nakawala eh.
Yeah.
This time, kawawa ka, babalikan kita. Hinuli mo ako, ngayon ikaw ang titirahin ko. Babalikan kita.
That's right.
Ganun, kaya natatakot ulit yung enforcer. Ito, nag-celebrated case, yung Alabang Boys.
Nako.
Yan, hindi ko maintindihan dati bakit nangyari. Hindi na pinagbigyan, they weren't given bail, and then after, 3 years, they're let go on a technicality. Tama ba yun? Sige nga, ikaw, mas alam mo yan eh.
Anyway, hindi tayo sa subjudice na dito. Tapos na korte.
Except for one boy, si Texon.
Na-desisyon na ng
tapos na eh.
Except, we will refer ang discussion natin doon sa dalawa.
Sige.
Na pinakawalan. We
Uh,
had a long and very substantive discussion with Secretary De Lima. And I'm very happy, my friends, Larry, that Secretary De Lima was able to understand the position of the prosecutor. Prosecutor Baybay of Muntinlupa and his company. And we were there, ando doon si General Santiago, ando doon si Major Marcelino, yung operator ng PIDEA at that time. And then, of course, si Atty. De Vera. And you know what? When you explain it to Secretary De Lima, because before, ang perception ni Secretary De Lima was, hey, baguhin na natin muna yung batas. Because of the chain of custody. Kasi bumanat doon sa chain of custody yung judge eh. Oh my God, sabi namin, why favor a procedural over substantive or merits of the case? Bakit ganon?
Naging procedure eh.
Yung procedure ang tinira
Dapat binigay muna sa barangay. May ganun yan, di
ba?
ba?
Presence sa barangay, at saka yung paghahawak din sa, dahil tinitira doon
ebidensya. Dapat yung chemist may hawak.
At saka yung kay Director, kay General Santiago, ayun ang binanatan sa decision. Kaya si General Santiago was really raising hell.
Yes,
and we are there to support. Why VACC was there? Because kami po ay nagko-court watch dyan. Kasi concerned kami sa illegal drugs because that is one of the cases now na kaya dumadami ang drugs because of this.
A system like this.
Etong sistemang ito, bulok na sistemang ito. You imagine, appreciating mo more on procedure rather than the substance, the merits of the case.
De Lima is outraged about this. Secretary De Lima is very outraged and she made her sentiments known in the media.
After we have discussed this with her, doon na bago yung perception niya. Importante yan eh. And Secretary De Lima must be commended on this. She's open to this. That's why, dinirect niya ang mga prosecutors niya. Hey, let us go for a motion for reconsideration. I don't know where will that be. Because may decision na acquittal.
Hindi, tsaka nalabas na ang hirap naman yan.
Yeah, but you know.
Mag-MR ka unless you have new evidence. Papasok mo. Pero tapos na yung crime. How can you have new evidence?
Yeah, but there are other aspects. Ito yung sinasabi kong pwede pang matingnan and baka mabigyan ng konsiderasyon.
Let's go to another celebrated case where you and Visconde you figured in because VACC was at the center of all that. The web case, pinakawalan after how many years? 18, 19 years?
15 years.
15 years. What happened there? But ganon. I saw you on TV. You were crying foul. I watched you. I heard you. I read some reports. So was Mr. Visconde. And everyone's feeling, what happened? Diba? And yan, Korte Suprema na yan.
You know, Harry. Harry.
Iniinis kita, no?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why Harry is one of my favorite hosts. He knows how to hit me up and break my patience. But anyway, since you have said and you have mentioned that, up to now I still feel that for Calaro Visconde.
Lauro.
And Calaro Visconde, if is maybe watching, must understand that so many people really supports his cause and believes in what he've been saying. And andiyan naman tayo. Andiyan dyan po ang mga nakakaintindi nito. But anyway, let's put it this way. Again, there is Secretary De Lima who ordered, it's President Pinoy, who ordered Secretary De Lima to reinvestigate right
to
after the
reinvestigate.
decision.
Tingnan mo yan.
Okay. And the findings was what? The findings was Hubert Webb was in the Philippines because of that Bureau of Immigration record.
Yes.
And it cannot be removed from the records that Hubert Webb was here in the Philippines during the time of the commission of the crime. Now, siyempre, na-discuss na rin niya sa mga sa kasong yun, and but finally, doon nagkaroon ng consolation si Lauro Visconde, Harry. I tell you that. Na-console yung mama. But, you see, bakit nagkaganon yun? See?
You know, if you think those are two celebrated cases, there's a new one that just erupting last week. Di ba? Nagalit na naman si Secretary De Lima. Again, another issue again that's been erupting. It's still erupting. It's still in the current events. Now, what is the power of the Secretary of Justice if all she is to become frustrated by the perceived errors of the court and the judiciary? I mean, what do we do? Well, before you answer that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, other than crying foul to all the issues that we've been mentioning in all the current events, we will provide, or we will at least attempt to discuss solutions. Because if we just cry and cry and cry, we will do no better than everybody else. We will try and discuss if it's even possible. The reason we don't have any legals in front of both of us, because this way we can openly, hey, it's perception, but then again, let's see, what's truth? Is truth the truth, or is it perception? Hang on, we're on TV. It's got to be perception. We'll be right back. Hello, my name is Harry Tumbuadco. You're back with the program, and we're discussing functions and dysfunctions of the legal system. With us, we have the founding chairman of the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, VACC, Mr. Dante Jimenez. Hi again, Dante. Dante, let's go back to where we were before we go into proposed solutions, or if we even discuss proposed solutions. That case I was telling you about with Secretary De Lima, this latest case is involving Delphine Lee and Asia Tech, his company, wherein they borrowed, or they were able to borrow from Pag-ibig Fund some 6.6 billion. I mean, you know, on one contractor. And she finally issues out, it came on the media that they're going to issue out a temporary restraining order against the court. And Delphine Lee with his lawyers ran to Judge Mislang. And this is ongoing right now, di ba? And again, anyway, they let Delphine Lee free, and based on media and based again on our perceptions, because we really don't know the truth. Perceptions is this guy was involved in a lot of funds that were channeled directly to his company to the tune of some 6-something billion pesos. Now, how is that possible? And then we have the secretary again getting frustrated. Is her role only to get frustrated and bang the table with her fist? Ano ba yan? Or are there solutions up ahead? Or should we fight for solutions?
Okay, Ari, before I answer that, no? Kasi nabitin ako dun sa Visconde.
Sige. Tapusin natin.
Let me remind you, because ang topic natin is dysfunction.
Correct.
Function and dysfunction.
Correct.
Remember, the Supreme Court penalized me with 100,000 pesos
right.
because of saying...
You said your piece.
I said my piece. May PI daw ako sinasabi, nabanggit nga, of course, andito naman yun, on record yun. And then, anyway, they charged me with contempt, okay?
Contempt of court.
Contempt of court, okay? They penalized me, fined me, first resolution nila, order nila, 100,000 pesos, my dear friends. When in fact and in truth, they know that the maximum penalty, maximum fine for this kind of particular, let's say, itong violation na ito, yung itong contempt, is only 30,000 pesos. Sila din ang gumawa nung anong yun, nung batas na yun.
Judicial legislation.
Initial, 100,000. So, wala akong magagawa kundi mag-file ng motion for reconsideration with my lawyers, Attorney Manuel Obedosa and Attorney Leonard de Vera. You know
Nards,
Leonard.
of course, Attorney Nards.
Okay. So, sinabit namin kagad. Alam mo, in less than 1 day, they said, yes, 30,000 pesos lang pala.
Oh, at least.
Nakita mo yung dysfunction doon? Nakita mo.
Wow, 70%, ano?
Nga, pero look, they know, sila gumawa ng resolution, bakit mo bibigyan ako ng initial resolution ng 100,000 pesos bakit? Napikong kayo doon sa mga pinagsasabi ko? Bakit in a day, magsabit kami ng MR, 30,000 pesos. Yan sinasabi natin, yung topic nating dysfunction. Nagiging personal masyado.
Correct.
Yeah, nagiging personal, Harry.
Judicial legislation, when they're supposed to interpret the law, not create it on their own as if they have the power, which they don't.
Doon ngayon papasok. Let's go now. Dito sa talong mo with regards to the, eto si Mr.
Si Delpin. Delpin Lee.
Delpin Lee. Now, I'm not so familiar with this particular case, Harry, but andiyan na naman bakit nagalit ang Secretary of Justice. She really was in a rage. Because obviously, magbigay ng TRO itong mga justices na ito, akala mo kasi sila pinaka-matalino.
Kasi hindi binasa yung resolution eh. Bigla gumawa ng desisyon.
Why? I'm not saying baka nakurap. I'm not saying nakurap, but you see, perception.
Correct. Now, what happens when we have a very active, we've got a new ombudsman who seems to be, firm in her position to be independent of the political powers that are or be, di ba? Carpio Morales, di ba? We've got Laila de Lima, who is making a name for herself, coming from Chair of Human Rights.
Yeah.
And she wants to keep her morals, her values intact. Of course, she's directly under the wing of the president, who is kung walang korap, walang mahirap. So she's doing her best. But is frustration enough to halt the dysfunctions of the legal system that we are all being subjected to? And this is what I call inequality. This is deprivation of my human rights, di ba? On my day in court, when the system itself, not just the judges, but the whole system of how it works.
Right.
What do we do? Can we expel the judges and all the lawyers of this country? What happened to the school? What happened to Ateneo? Di ba ano yan?
Yeah.
Best yan sa morals and values. You mean the legals are all corrupted?
Now, let's put it this way, Harry. Ikaw ngayon na high blood eh.
Parati naman ako high blood eh.
You see, dahil itong ating sistema, masyadong too personal ang dating. Kung ang interpretation mo sa isang batas, sa isang rules, ay ganun na lang, at that instance, hindi mo man lamang iniisip, hindi mo man lamang nagtanong sa mga ibang mga tao na medyo functional lang utak niya at that time, or walang namang kasing kabit or walang kadikit.
Correct.
Ganun ang papasok.
Yung walang nakadikit.
Walang nakadikit.
Isa pa ito, Dante. Alan Pagia is one of our brightest minds. He was in the Academia Ateneo.
Yeah.
Attorney Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
He also had the show here. Yung nangyari sa kanya, this is 9 years now, pending 10 years. Can you imagine? All he did was cite the Constitution on what was legally correct. And instead of apology or correction, like what happened in your case, 100,000, you contested it, hindi tama yan. O nga pala, 30,000 lang. At least, alam mo, before redemption, there is retribution. Bayad ka muna, correct the error. What happens when the Supreme Court act like they're all supreme, which they are. But the problem is, are they totally infallible? They're no longer human, they are perfect, that they make no mistakes, and all of us make mistakes. So how is it the whole country looks at it mali ang perception? Like all these cases we cited, the 3 cases. Why is it the general perception is, guilty yan, paano nakawala yan? Di mo nga binigyan ng bail yan eh. Kaya, di ba? And yet, napakawalan. What do? We are victims now of this dysfunctional system.
Yes.
How do we correct that? Ikaw, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think we have to overhaul.
How do you overhaul?
Wait, let me put
Oh,
it
okay,
this
okay,
way.
go.
Let
Sige.
us overhaul the criminal justice system as it is. Isa-isahin natin lahat yan. Okay? From the law enforcement, to the prosecution, to the courts,
To the courts.
to the penology.
Yun.
Tingnan natin ang isa-isa yan, saan ba yung mga problema na hinaharap ng ating mga kababayan. Yun. Tingnan natin. Kasi karamihan dyan, all of this, their laws, their rules, favors the affluent, favors more the rich.
Thank you for
favors
saying this.
the victim or
Correct.
the criminal,
The
not the
criminal.
victim. And this does not favor the victims usually. Okay. Matagal na namin sinasabi na there are more rights of the accused than the
Than the
rights of the victim.
victim.
What is the right of the victim? Just to get justice.
Correct.
Mabuti may mga kamag-anak yan. Mabuti may BACC, nagko-court watch.
Isa pa yan.
Sila, they could delay.
How do we change? How do you overhaul a system wherein they have absolute power and authority? You can't even question the Court Supreme. Absolute nga eh.
Kaya nga, since, sabi na, so from the beginning of the show, na merong dysfunctional na because wala pong nakatutok, walang nagkokompas, walang konduktor.
Dapat yung si
Da-
si Corona.
Hindi yun eh. Hindi yun eh. Kasi sa sistema natin, sa Constitution, each has their own
May independence.
independence.
Correct.
Ayun.
Correct. Agreed.
Sa akin kasi, to my mind, I think they have to be all connected with each other, especially on heinous crimes. That's our expertise kasi. That is where victims comes sa amin. Pumupunta, mga victims of heinous crimes.
Tas natatala.
Nakikita na namin yun, yung mga problema dyan.
Tell me, very quickly, tell the audience, tell our viewers, the conviction rates that have changed. What was the past? Nakakailang kayo buwan-buwan?
Okay. In 2004 to 2006, just for the record,
For the record.
we had the conviction of 12 conviction those
12
years.
per year. So, 1 a month.
1 a month. Alam nyo ngayon, 3 to 4 conviction. After 2006, 2007, 8, 9, 10, mga 3 to 4 conviction. Why? Why? You ask me. Because the criminals were able already to perfect and they were able to know the system.
You mean it's like the 2,000 containers that went missing?
Right.
And then when we investigated it, may ano pa palang 1,200 more?
Totoo yan.
Tapos wala nang laman pero bumalik na. Let's forget about the case. Ganun ano?
Ganon.
How do you correct the justice system?
Okay. Sabi ko nga,
Legislation?
legislation, yung sa constitution natin, baguhin natin, let us come up with the jury system. Ayaw ng mga korte to eh. Ng ating mga magagaling na justices, jury system, ayaw nila yun. Bakit sa Amerika, it's
I'm
functioning.
not qualified to discuss.
Of course.
Although I had a lawyer who brought that here once from America, Pinoy, and he's promoting that.
Look, a jury is composed of
Yeah,
people.
12, 14 people.
Yes, mga civilians, yan, mga
Civilians.
kababayan po
They
natin
make
yan.
the decisions.
Yes. Dito isa lang tao eh. Akala mo, sinong hari eh. haring di mo maintindihan eh.
Agreed.
Akala mo siya ang,
Know it all,
Diyos.
know it all.
He is the God.
He's the God.
Small G.
Small God, small G.
My golly.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
at
yeah.
that. Oh, Supreme Court justices.
But how do we correct Alam mo, I was listening to this radio show in the morning, yung Karambola. Sila Teddy Locsin, Deputy Speaker Remulla. Puro abogado yan eh. 5-6 sila nag-argue yan tuwing umaga. Apparently, Pinoy is trying to insert a provision in the judicial budget to try and control it without you can't, since it's against the law, the Constitution, to decrease it, at least to control it or regulate. Because after all, they have incremental income, which is sizable, which we are not allowed to know and to make public. It's called filing fees and all the other fees collected.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No. You made mention about budget. Isa po itong problema sa ating Kongreso. Bakit ang liit-liit ng budget ng judiciary?
14 billion. Hindi, may rason kasi yan. Kasi ang laki ng filing fees nila.
Kaya nga, bakit pumasok yung mga filing fees niya? Nagsasacrifice dyan, nasa-suffer dyan, mga ordinary people.
Totoo
May
yan.
mga gustong mag-file.
Ang laki, 10%.
Yung mga
on
docket
civil
fees.
cases. Docket fees are very expensive.
Isa nga ito naging problema ni Atty. De Vera. We know that. But you see, ito po ang problema, budget. The distribution
It's unequal.
is not in accordance with their importance. Meaning to say, ang judiciary, ang liit ng budget. Kaya naghahanap din naman ng judiciary, ano bang mga gimmick? Ano bang mga method?
Racket. Para to
augment their very low, very small budget. See? Sa law enforcement, ganun din. Sa prosecution, of course, kasama si...
Ako naawa ako, may 2 akong prosecutor I met in Pampanga. You know, out of 12 seats, I think there's only 8 of them. And how can they serve the whole province? And they're also city prosecutors. These 2 women work so hard. My heart goes out for them, you know, and they're doing their best. There are good people, but it's the system.
Yeah.
But how do you correct that? Should we go to... But if you go to Congress, where laws emanate and begin, di ba? They're full of lawyers. They're part and parcel of the whole thing. And lawyers are saying, kawawa naman yung mga hindi abogado because they don't know how to make law.
Hari,
BS! Bullshit! Di ba?
Hari, sa Constitution natin, di ba, may anti-dynasty law na doon? Pero, ano sabi ng Constitution natin?
Walang implementation
wala to.
law.
Malayo na to doon sa ating pinag-usapan.
Pero
that's
yan.
basic. Sabi ng Constitution po natin, you check this. Sabi, bawal ang political dynasty sa ating political system. Bakit nandiyan pa ang dynasty? Kasi sabi doon sa Constitution, only Congress must enact a law.
Implementing law.
Yeah. Enact a law. Mag-enact
Period,
muna.
enact
Walang ginagawa Kongreso. Bakit? Pare-pareho sila mga dynastic people. Parang mga Ming dynasty sila, mga Qing dynasty. You know? So, isa lang example dyan na sa Constitution pa lang po natin, hindi na sinusunod po at ang dami pong discrepancy. Pagkatapos sasabihin ng mga iba, bakit mo babagay ng Constitution? 1987 lang yan.
So,
Okay.
Dante, are we a subjected people then? Are we a subjugated people?
Yes, we are.
By our own citizens. By our same color, our own citizen, our own culture.
Maybe not the people, but those who are moneyed people. Nasa media.
Yes.
Alam mo na yan, yung mga mabibigat na mga intereses sa ating sa mga economics.
Businessmen.
The businessmen.
In business interest.
Sino ngayon ang nasisira dito? Sino ang nagsasuffer? Mga kababayan po natin. Alam niyo naman ang mga mahihirap nating kababayan. Yan po ay pagka binatuhan mo ng mansanas sa kampanya, masaya na yan.
Do you believe the president can help fix it with this? We know that he wants it to be what he says. We know that. We can see it naman in his face and his person. Can he succeed considering the vultures are so much more, diba? And there's enough carcass there for them to feed on. Can he stop the vultures from feeding the carcass down there?
I hope and pray that the president will be able to overcome these vultures around him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, Dante, we're going to have to end the show. We have 3 minutes. I want to give you a couple of minutes in your exit message that is heartfelt because you're one of the few people I know that, since I've met you on a personal basis, you are the same on and off camera. You are the same on a Sunday and on a Monday. Your priorities are never waning. You are very directive in your approach towards your advocacy. And kudos to VACC.
Thank you.
Because there is no profit, there is no interest, there is no motive other than trying to equalize what is justice and what is the law. Your exit message to our viewers.
Well, thank you very much, Harry, my favorite host.
Okay.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, ako po ay nakikiusap sa inyong sa mga nanonood po dito sa programa ni Harry na tingnan na lang niyo po ang ating mga politiko. Ako po hindi politiko, kaya siguro sa puso ko nanggagaling itong aking adhikain na dapat po baguhin na natin po ang sistemang bulok. Tatanungin niyo ako, bakit nagtsatsaga niya sa sistemang bulok, ang criminal justice system? Saan po pupunta si Dante Jimenez at ang mga victims ng heinous crimes? Sa bundok? Sa bagay, madali lang po mamundok. Eto lang nga, kinasuhan kami ng sedition and inciting to sedition dahil nga raw gusto kong mamundok. Bakit? Ang bundok ba ay para sa mga rebelde lang at sa mga nanggugulo? Hindi. Ang bundok po ay kalikasan. Sa atin po ang bundok. But anyway, ako po ay nakikiusap na tulungan niyo po ang mga taong katulad ni Harry Tambutco na siya po ay talagang, ang mga issues niya ay relevant po sa ating nararanasan po sa ating pong kapaligiran. And kailangan po ay labanan po natin ang mga bulok na sistema. Huwag po tayong tumigil hanggat hindi po mabago ito. At sa inyo pong mga nanonood, tulungan niyo po ang VACC, ang mga biktima ng heinous crimes na wala naman pong iniisip kundi katarungan lang. The basic justice that the Constitution wants them to have. But the enforcers, the executive, the legislative do not perhaps want to give them. Maraming salamat po. And good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed Dante Jimenez here because we have this passion that comes along with this person. Alam mo, I keep saying, before redemption, there has to be retribution. You know, there's a saying, when things are out of control and you no longer have a grasp of things that are happening, consequences occur. The problem with consequences, it can go either way, to your favor, and most of the time, against your favor. So when we are out of control, meaning you and I, that means consequences will occur. Now, my role here is not to entertain you. If anything, to irritate you. But only for one singular purpose, critical thought. And critical thought is most important when we have critical mass. Meaning, we all become body politic. And we start thinking instead of just swallowing. Alam mo, eating is the ability to survive yourself, but the civilized way is to taste that food. Now, what would you rather have? Democracy or the democracy we're currently enjoying? Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our show. Stay with us. We'll be back for some more in GNN. Thank you.
You are what you watch.